my phone has had negative messages. That's kind of encompasses what this Rangers trade deadline has been. Not nearly as many moves as we all once thought just a few weeks ago. I think we've all been waiting for the trade call on Vincent Trocheck, and that one never came. Brian, are you surprised?
I'm not totally surprised when you saw Minnesota do a bunch of things because I really think they wanted Troach, and then they started pivoting and did a bunch of things.
Yeah.
I did think, I mean, Detroit had to do something, and it looks like they finally made a move and they got Justin Falk out of St. Louis, which is like that's something. I I thought they would do a little more, and we'll see. They didn't do nothing though this year, which is something.
Hmm.
With Troach, I've said it, maybe not on here, maybe I have on here, but I don't know uh, why moving him was of urgency. If you get your doors blown off with the deal, fine. Being as where this team is right now and what they need to do to kind of recoup some assets and build, but he's a great player. I
Hmm.
think he's a great teammate. The we've you know you Molly, you've been in the rooms all year, all the different at the home rink, at practice
Hmm.
rinks and visiting rinks. And when his name comes up to teammates, you can just hear how genuinely
Hmm.
they adore this guy. So
Yeah.
hanging on to that and not giving that away for cents on the dollar was the right move. And I think Chris Drury had a reason to value him as high as he did. He's a great player and a great teammate.
Yeah, I think that the urgency that you referred to was probably more so about the center market right now. And we kind of saw that over the last couple days of what it kind of turned out to look like. I think that they believed that they could set a high price point for Trocheck and they could possibly uh,
Yeah.
maybe overcompensate a little bit for what they didn't get in the Artemi Panarin trade, because obviously they were a little handcuffed in that situation. So they were probably, Drury was probably looking to overcompensate a little bit and get an even bigger haul than I think a lot of other teams were willing to give up. Obviously, Minnesota was a team that we had heard was in it kind of from the beginning, and it became pretty clear that Drury set a high price point for Trocheck, and they weren't going to make the trade just to make the trade, and the price point that they set wasn't met. So I think that this was a possibility that they always thought could happen. But that being said, I do think it could make for an interesting situation just because we've seen what happens in the past when a player who has been told that they want to, move on from him and, then he's allowed to walk back into the locker room. We saw it with Jacob Trouba, and it makes for a an interesting dynamic and probably a difficult dynamic for players to fully commit to what's going on in the locker room. So I think that Trocheck has been a consummate professional the entire time. He has shown absolutely zero indication that he wouldn't, be giving 100% to this team so long as he's here for the rest of the season. Um, but I just think it's always a little bit of a risk to be sending that kind of dynamic back into the locker room. Do you not agree?
Well, his name's out there and you're honest from the start. And I can only go back to what my own experience was with Ray Shero in New Jersey and with Steve Yzerman in Tampa. When your team's at a certain point and you are of value, you're going to hear your name,
Of course.
out there. And when you're a player like Troach, it's going to be out there more because more fan bases are going to want to hear about if he has if there's a potential path for them to get that player. Um, Certainly, I think, I don't want to speak for you guys, but writers are probably going to be interested
Hmm.
in other teams if there's a connection. If you're writing for Minnesota, if you're
Hmm.
Russo in Minnesota and you're writing for
Right.
Minnesota, you're going to try and find every piece of information you can on if that is a potential fit or it could potentially happen, right? Like
Of
that's,
course.
and so the buzz comes up. And at no point does that mean you're a bad teammate or the team doesn't want you
Of
anymore.
course not. Yeah.
If you lose games, it's like you have to make changes. And you know, if you're losing games and you're not like a big piece of a team that's losing games, your value's not that high. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, unless you're Sam Carrick, who, I
right.
mean, look at the list of guys he fought. Look at what he does on that team. Look at the minutes he plays. He never complains. He's going to have value. And he goes to Buffalo. Buffalo had a targeted approach to the trade deadline. It's like we have all this skill. We always get all this skill. We've had all this skill for a
Hmm.
long time. We've traded away a ton of skill that's gone on to win.
Right.
What was their environment like? Okay, well, the guys that we traded down into Florida are a big, tough, heavy team. They're mean, and they all sort of fell in line. Like the guy that we traded to Vegas went to a big, tough, heavy team that were really mean, and they won a cup. Okay, let's make ourselves a big, tough, heavy team. We get Carrick, we get Shen, we get Stanley.
Mm,
Troach, it's like he's a tough, heavy player who's got a lot of skill, and he just won the gold medal, and he's had playoff success. So it's like
right.
we always loved you. We signed you to this deal because we love you, but that's where we were. But we weren't going to give you up for nothing. It would have had to be a ton of stuff coming back to us because we still value it that much. So like between, I guess I was saying, a long way of saying is between player and management, it should be fine. Unless they're like dangling it in front of them in the offseason now and the next trade, whatever. Like that's not the way to
Yeah,
go.
that's you don't want to
Business.
jerk back and forth like that. Yeah. That's
But
my only thing is,
yeah,
now I think, I'm always thinking about how I'm sure, especially you could speak to this as a player, you want to hear that you're valued and you want
yeah,
to, you want to be kept here. And especially in this sort of situation where they keep calling it a retool and it's not like a total rething. So like, wouldn't you
right.
want to tell him that, he's a quintessential part of it moving forward? Obviously, that's what he would want to hear, but obviously, it doesn't always work out that way. But my other concern with the whole situation is Drury going to be able to get the same types of deals that were on the table this time around for Trocheck in the offseason, or if he's able to get that extra piece or two that I'm assuming that he was looking for. Um, because then we risk dragging this out further into the off season. And, if you're not able to get those deals, those offers back, to begin with, then you're just kind of in a even more of a sticky situation now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so Braden Shen goes to the island, right?
I
And
loved what the Islanders did, by the way. Just a
well,
side
yeah,
note.
I mean they traded for him and then they extended Pajot. So now, I mean, I don't know. In a couple of years, who
That's
knows?
their
But
guy. Pajot was always their guy.
no, and
So
he's look, that guy's skating maybe faster than he's
yeah,
ever skated, having just watching him
yeah,
play. Like the guy's actually gained a step. So I'm not saying like he's older, but like they have older centers now. They
yeah.
have a window with their, all-world defensemen
Hmm.
that, they have to strike now because he's still entry level. In a few years, he's gonna be making $15 million. So I get it.
Correct. Yeah.
But like say Chris Drury trades Vince Trocheck and that trade call comes through and they get a decent package. And then you see that, St. Louis just got a first round pick, a third round pick, Jonathan Drouin, so that's probably a money thing. And
Hmm.
then a pretty highly touted goalie prospect. Like
Right.
if it came anything less than that for Troch, who's a better player at this stage, I think
Yeah.
it would have been, the torches would have been out and it wouldn't have been a
I
good
think it
look.
was, I think they set it really high though.
They had to,
Like I think it was, the pieces that were out there were Minnesota's 2027 first, Charlie Strammel, another highly touted defensive prospect. And I'm sure they wanted like an NHL ready player,
probably
like a
Europe or
young guy.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you say him because when I initially wrote about the whole situation a couple days ago, when I was looking at Minnesota's assets and what they had, I was going to write his name, but then I was really looking into it and I was like, they're not going to trade him. Like
Right.
they're,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, they're not going to trade him. So I'm sure that was a piece that they were reaching for 100%. So yeah,
And
I
they
mean,
should have.
like, yeah, you can't fault him for shooting for the stars in this situation, especially coming off of the Artemi situation too. But I do have concerns with sending a player back into that room after making him go through all that. And I think that he'll handle it maybe better than Truba did. I mean, that he can only hope. but I guess we'll see on that front.